Hi guys, this is the first video for Unit 10. Unit 10 is our geometry unit. We're going to have 5 lessons. So the first lesson is distance and midpoint. Today's learning target is students will find the distance between 2 points, should say 2 points. Using distance formula, students will find the midpoint of a segment. So let's talk about distance between 2 points first. So last year we learned the Pythagorean theorem, which taught us how to find the distance between 2 points on a coordinate plane. So for example, this says find the distance between the points -2, 5 and 0, -4. So let's plot those real quick. So -2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is right here. And 0, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is right here. Okay, and then let me get my plastic ruler because my metal one doesn't work on this. To draw just a straight line real quick. So to find the distance between these 2 points with Pythagorean theorem, what we do is we would create a right triangle. And if you've been doing your Aspire practice assignments, you've practiced this a couple times on a couple different assignments. So we create a right triangle, and then we count the side length of each of the sides of the triangle we just created. So this one right here is 2. And this right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we use the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Or, you shouldn't write that in there, sorry. Let's write it up here. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Or the way we kind of manipulated the formula last year to solve for the hypotenuse, because remember the hypotenuse is c, it's the long side here. So c equals the square root of a squared plus b squared. It's just solved for c, the Pythagorean theorem. So we put this part into our calculator, substituting a for 2 and b for 9, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. And then we come up with an answer. Let me write those numbers down real quick. Over to my I don't know if I have a calculator on this one. This is my home tablet. Hold on one sec. I do have it. Okay, so we're going to do the square root, which is the second key, and then x squared. And we're going to do 2 squared plus 9 squared. And yours will give it to you as a radical. Mine is giving it to me as a decimal. So it would be the square root of 85, or approximately 9.2. So depending on what it's asking, how it's asking you to find it would depend on what the answer is. So we would do the square root of, and then we did 2 squared plus 9 squared, and we found out that it was the square root of 85, or 9.2. Okay. All right, so now what we need to do is learn how to find this without drawing it on a coordinate plane, because Pythagorean theorem, you need to draw it out and you need to be able to count the sides of the right triangle that you create. But how do we do it when we don't have a coordinate grid, when we're just given the 2 points like we were here? So when that happens, we're going to use the distance formula. So the distance formula is new this year. So this year we will use the distance formula to find the distance between 2 points. This is more useful since we won't always have a coordinate plane to plot points on. So the subscripts like this, x1, y1, those little subscripts only indicate that there is a first and a second point. Okay, so we're going to have 2 points. One of them is going to be x1, y1. The other one's going to be x2, y2. So whichever point is first or second is completely up to you. Okay, so the distance formula looks a lot like what we just wrote up here. So the distance is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, and they get this distance formula from exactly what we just did up here in the Pythagorean theorem. It's just that they're using the points instead of counting the boxes. Okay, so for example, if we were using these points up here, with the distance formula, the first thing I want you to notice, stop it, this thing is in the wrong spot, there we go, is that this is x2 minus x1, and let me just get rid of this. This is x1 here, and this is x2, and what we would do is 0 minus negative 2. Oops, I forgot the negative. Oh my goodness, minus negative 2, and that would equal 2, which is exactly what we put right there. And if we were to do the y's, this is y1, sorry, y2, and this is y1. So we would do negative 4 minus 5, which I know, gives you a negative 9. But when you square a negative 9, you end up getting the same thing as 9 squared anyway. So you can see that those numbers come out the same. Okay? Did I do that right? I did. Okay. So now let's put this into play here. So let's find the distance between the point 0, negative 4, and 5, 3 using the distance formula instead of Pythagorean theorem. I'm just trying to get back to green, that's all. Okay, so it doesn't matter which point you make the first point, which point you make the second point, as long as you stay consistent. So I'm just going to make this x1, y1, and this is going to be x2, y2. So the distance between these 2 points, and you can just type this whole thing in your calculator, but when we're writing it out in the notes, I want you having it written out, so when you refer back to your notes, you know where you got all the points from. Okay, so x2 is 5. Minus x1 is 0, and that's going to be squared, plus y2 is 3, minus y1, which is negative 4, and that's going to be squared. So I'm going to just write this real quick on another piece of paper so I can flip over to my calculator. Okay, so let's go to our calculator, clear this one out. So second square root, put in open parentheses, 5 minus 0, close parentheses, and square it, plus open parentheses, 3 minus negative 4, close parentheses, and square it, and then hit enter. And you'll see I get either the square root of 74 or approximately 8.6. Okay, so it just depends on how it asks you for it, but this is approximately 8.6. And then whatever it was measuring in. So, okay. All right, so that's the distance formula. Let's talk about midpoint. So the midpoint formula allows you to find the midpoint or the center between 2 points. Okay, so basically we want to, like for example, we want to find the center between this point here and this point here. Okay, we can't really, I mean, we could guess, but we can't get accurate without doing the midpoint formula. So we're going to plot the points negative 2, 5, and 0, negative 4, and draw a line connecting them. This is the same one we just did up there. Negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just use your edge of your binder or whatever, because there's only a couple of straight lines you need to draw. So there's really no point handing out rulers. Okay, so there's that. And now it says plot a point where you think the halfway point is between the 2 points. So let's say, let's make it red. Let's say it's somewhere right around here. Okay, now you can see that that's not on a corner, and so I can't estimate what that is. Plus, I could be off, but we're going to find out. Okay. All right, so we're going to use the midpoint formula, which I'm going to give you, and then we're going to find the exact midpoint. So the midpoint formula looks like this. It's x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then a comma. Y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And it ends up being, the answer is an ordered pair, so that's why there's a comma in the middle and parentheses on the outside of it. Okay, so make sure you know this. Okay, so let's check out what the halfway point really is. So I'm going to make this x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so the midpoint is negative 2 plus 0 divided by 2 over 5 plus negative 4 divided by 2. Okay, so negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2 over 2. And 5 plus negative 4 is 1 over 2. And then to simplify that even more, it would be negative 1 and then 1/2. So that would be the midpoint. So negative 1 1/2. Oh, actually, I'm really close, huh? Look at me go. Woohoo. Okay. But now we know exactly what it is. We have to guess. All right, let's do some practice now. So it says find the distance between 1, negative 2, and negative 3/6 in simplest radical form. So this means that it wants us to give our answer with a radical in it or a whole number, no decimals. Okay, so remember the distance formula is, first of all, we need to label these x1, y1, x2, y2. If you need to, you don't have to, obviously. So the distance between these 2 points is the square root, and I want this written out in your notes, please. The square root of negative 3 minus 1 squared plus 6 minus negative 2 squared. Let's see. 3 minus 1, 6 minus negative 2. Okay, calculator. Clear. Second square root. Negative 3 minus 1 squared plus 6 minus negative 2 squared. Simplest radical form means that it wants this answer here, the 4 radical 5, not the decimal. So your calculator spits out the radical form automatically, so that's what it wants in this case. So 4 radical 5. Okay. This one over here wants you to find the distance to the nearest tenth. So that would be rounding to the tenths place. Remember, tenths place is the first place past the decimal. I'm going to let you do that one and answer the question on the screen. Okay. This one right here says find the midpoint of the segment with the endpoints 1, 1 and negative 7, 7. Okay, so let's find an midpoint. So that is, oh, you know what, let's label these first. x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to get x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So 1 plus negative 7 is a negative 6, and 1 plus 7 is 8. So when I simplify this, I'm going to get negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3, and then 8 over 2, which is 4. Okay, this one wants you to find the midpoint of the segment with the endpoints. So I'll have you guys do that and then answer the question on the screen. Okay, next. The next one is a little trickier. So it says the midpoint of line AB is the point M at 3, negative 2. If the coordinates of A are 5, 2, what are the coordinates of B? So this time it's giving you the endpoint or the midpoint, sorry, and asking you to find the other point. So it's giving us this and one of these and asking us to find that other one. Okay. So to do this one, we're going to set this up and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So B is going to be X and Y. Okay. We don't know what those points are yet. So we'll make them X1 and Y1. And these ones will be X2 and Y2, the one that does give us. So if we set it up, the first one is X plus X. So it's going to be X plus 5 divided by 2 over. And the second one is Y plus Y. So Y plus 2 divided by 2. Okay, so I just got this 5 from here and this 2 here from here. That's where I got those from. Now this equals the midpoint of 3, -2. Now remember, in an ordered pair, this is an x and this is a y. So we can set these up as two separate equations and solve. So this x piece, let me see if I can get rid of the red without getting rid of the green. Oh, I can't. Okay. This is equal to this one, and this one is equal to this one. So we're going to set them up as two separate equations. So we've got x plus 5 divided by 2 equals 3. And then we've got y plus 2 divided by 2 equals -2. And then you're just going to solve these each for their independent variable. So to solve this, first of all, I have to get rid of this 2. It's dividing it, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. Those cancel. X plus 5 equals 6. And then subtract 5 from both sides and get that x equals 1. Now let's find the y coordinate. So again, I need to get rid of this 2, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. Those cancel. So y plus 2 equals -4. Subtract 2 from both sides, I get y equals -6. So that means, because remember, we're looking for the coordinates of b, so that means b equals the ordered pair 1, -6, because this is the x and this is the y in the ordered pair. Okay, let me show you another one, because I know that one can be a little tricky. So it says the midpoint of line AB is M, is the point M, which is 0, 1. If the coordinates of A are -8, 8, what are the coordinates of B? So again, we're going to make this one x1, y1, and this one's x2, y2. And you could do it the opposite way if you want. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to set this up as x, and then plus a -8, or sorry, minus a -8. Nope, that's plus. That's, what am I doing? I was doing the distance formula. It's adding in the midpoint. So plus a -8, which is the same as just -8. So I'm just going to write it as -8. Divided by 2. And y plus 8 divided by 2. And that equals the point 0, 1. Okay, so again, this one equals this one. And the y equals this one. So we're going to set this up now as two separate equations. So x minus 8 divided by 2 equals 0. And y plus 8 divided by 2 equals 1. So just like before, the first step we're going to do is to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that 2 in the denominator. So let's cancel. X minus 8 equals, and 0 times 2 is 0. Add 8 to both sides. X equals 8. Over here, multiply both sides by 2. Cross those out. Y plus 8 equals 2, because 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract 8 from both sides. Y equals -6. So the ordered pair for B is the point 8, -6. That goes there, and that goes there. That's it. That is all for distance and midpoint. Thanks, guys.